As the world waits for U.S. voters to choose a president, what Canadians can expect if it's Trump or if it's Harris.
I think we don't have time to panic. I think we have to start laying out scenarios around what will happen.
From tariffs to defense spending and beyond, the U.S. choice will reverberate here at home. Lindsay Duncombe drills into the policy differences and what they could mean for Canada-U.S. relations.
Just across the border, our neighbors are about to make a decision that will affect all of us.
The relationship between the United States and Canada is a very personal one.
I would not build a wall on the Canadian border. I love Canada.
Harris or Trump? Predictable challenges or chaos?
Canada has treated us very badly.
Canada was taking advantage of us, as usual.
Your cash is on the line.
There'd be a lot of short-run disruptions because businesses would need to find new suppliers, new customers, and almost surely a recession.
I wanted to find out what Canada can expect if Kamala Harris is in charge or if Donald Trump gets reelected. So I reached out across the border to two people who analyze this stuff every day. Terri Givens is a political science professor. She recently joined the faculty at the University of British Columbia. And Eric Miller is a Washington, D.C.-based consultant. He advised Canadian governments and corporations on trade. Here are three things to expect under each possible presidency.
Starting with a return to Trump.
I'm going to put a 100, 200, 2,000% tariff.
The first big challenge, tariffs. Donald Trump has promised to impose at least a 10% tariff on all goods imported to the U.S.
There's been no sense that current free trade agreement partners will be exempted.
That means everything Canada exports to the U.S. would be more expensive, and Americans would buy less.
And with a huge adjustment cost. For Canada, whose prosperity depends on exporting, the introduction of significant new tariffs from the United States would cause a great deal of pain.
Economists at TD Bank crunched the numbers. Here's their baseline expectation for GDP in Canada over the next couple of years, growth around 2%. Now, watch it drop when you factor in Trump's proposed tariffs.
Other countries will be encouraged to retaliate. So what it likely means is that many things that Canadians are buying from abroad, not only from the United States, will get a lot more expensive. So the cost of living and inflation challenges will be made much, much worse.
Challenge number 2 under Trump, migration.
On day one, I will launch the largest deportation program in American history to get the criminals out.
Donald Trump is promising to deport 11 million undocumented people from the United States.
What kind of pressure would there be on the Canadian system if that deportation actually is implemented?
Oh, I think they'll be huge.
Givens says Canada could expect more people trying to come here, both legally and illegally.
There's going to be people who want to leave the U.S. and go to Canada. And if that influx increases dramatically, I think it's going to be important for Canada to start thinking proactively about ways to work with other countries. How are we going to manage this flow?
The third challenge under a second Trump presidency, defense spending. NATO countries are supposed to spend 2% of GDP on military and defense. Right now, Canada spends about 1.29%. There's a plan to get to 2% by 2032, but don't expect that timeline to satisfy Trump.
Canada is not seen as pulling its weight, and it will become really fundamental that Canada does come to be seen as pulling its weight if it is to build this kind of positive relationship with the Trump administration that it would like to see.
So what about Harris? If she wins, the change won't be anywhere near as dramatic, but there will still be challenges.
Right off the bat, Canadians can expect trade disputes with the Harris administration. Get ready for a familiar fight over milk and cheese. The Americans want access to Canada's dairy market.
One can count on the fact that dairy will be a top demand for the United States toward Canada.
Also, a Harris administration would push back hard against Canada's digital services tax aimed at U.S. tech companies. The second challenge under Harris, that pressure on defense spending won't go away.
You know, I think that a Harris government is still going to say, hey, Canada, we want to see you get up to that 2% in NATO, but they'll be much more supportive of NATO.
Givens says a Harris administration will be concerned over Russia and China's influence in the Arctic and expect Canada to pay up.
This is just going to be a very hot issue for Canada going forward.
And if Harris wins, there could be an impact on Canadian politics. A Harris victory could send a message to federal Liberals about what can happen when you change leaders at the last minute.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I think there are already a lot of emboldened Liberals who are speaking up, but I think a Harris win would show that it can be done.
We have an opportunity in this election to turn the page on a decade of Donald Trump.
As close as the race is, we may not know who wins the election for a while.
I think we don't have time to panic. I think we have to start laying out scenarios around what will happen and start looking at what are the carrots and what are the sticks that are needed to be deployed in order for Canada to be able to effectively navigate this period.
Both Miller and Givens say Canadians should be patient. Their advice? Plan for both possible presidents and wait.
As we wait to see which of the scenarios Lindsay took us through becomes reality, a note on early voting data. It shows more than 64 million ballots have already been cast.